Welcome back to the City Current Radio Show. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference, empowering the good. And in this case, we get a double treat. So we get a father and son dynamic duo, both making a difference in really cool ways. We're joined by Dan and Dillon Aronoff, and Dan is the market president and franchise consultant with FranNet. And Dillon is a shoe aficionado that is doing some really cool things with Samaritan's feet. So we'll dive in on both fronts. But how are you two guys doing?
Awesome. We're doing great. Thanks so much for having us, Jeremy.
So Dan, let's start with you. Give us some background on the professional side. Talk about FranNet and your work in terms of matching franchises with prospective business owners.
Okay. Yeah, great. Well, FranNet is a international consulting firm, and I own the FranNet rights for the state of Tennessee, and also actually cover Arkansas for FranNet as well. I've been doing it now for 16 years. And when I say I own the territory, I'm actually a franchisee. So I'm a franchisee of a franchise consulting business. You know, and very simply, think of me as a franchise matchmaker. I help people find out if business ownership is right for them, and if so, what franchise would be the best fit.
And we hear franchise, and I know many of us automatically assume like fast food and some of those, but the reality is when you look at franchise opportunities, it covers a wide spectrum. And so paint the picture of some of the different types of franchises that are available.
Yeah, we oftentimes joke that there's more to franchising than French fries. Obviously, food is a big sector, but there's franchises in the automotive space, technology, education, health and wellness, fitness, senior care, home improvement, B2B, you name it. There's a franchise in practically every category. So many franchises out there that a lot of people don't realize that they're franchises. So a lot of breadth.
Talk about some of the fundamental pieces. I know that people can walk through kind of a 4-step guide and really do an in-depth analysis on their end, but what are some of the main fundamentals that someone needs to either have in place or be thinking about to really take those next steps to become an owner?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, when somebody begins to think about owning their own business, a big part of our consultation with the client is really understanding their why. What are their motivations? You got to really want to do it. Now, some people, maybe they're burned out with corporate America, or they've been a road warrior and they want to park themselves in their city, eliminate downsizing, whatever it may be. Others may actually want to create another stream of income. So they want to keep their full-time job, but diversify and create wealth. So you got to really have a good sense of your why. What's prompting you to consider business ownership? We have a proprietary assessment. It gives us a profile. What we then do is, based on the assessment results, we take a look at their skill sets, their motivations. A big part of it is their financial wherewithal and their financial comfort zone. And let's face it, that's a big part, because all the franchises that we work with, they have net worth and liquidity requirements. And we want to make sure that we're matching people up with franchises that are going to help them achieve their personal, professional, and financial goals, but do it in a safe way. We don't want them to be so stretched. Lastly, it's grit. Anybody that's a business owner, you got to have grit, you got to have perseverance, you got to realize it's not going to happen overnight. So those are just some of a few things, when we're working with folks that are considering business ownership.
What's the timing look like when you talk about sitting down with somebody, going through the assessment, looking at the match, to ultimately them starting the business? How long is that range? And I know it's going to vary quite a bit, but is it something that moves somewhat quickly? Does it take a full year, 2 years, 3 years down the road? What does that timing look like?
Yeah, from an investigation standpoint, I would say generally speaking, it's going to take 60 to 90 days for somebody to do what we would call proper due diligence. Now, of course, it depends. Most of my clients are looking at 3, maybe 4 concepts. If they're only looking at one, it could be shorter. But generally speaking, it's going to take about 60 to 90 days, and giving them ample time to peel back the onion, really learn about that concept, validate with other franchisees that are in the system, meet with a franchise attorney, financing, and all that stuff, before they can actually make a decision. Now, as far as opening the business, if it's a home-based, mobile-based business that doesn't require brick and mortar, you can be in business in about a month or two. If it's brick and mortar, like a storefront, it could take 6 to 12 months. I mean, that site selection process, it's a process. It can take some time, so people just need to realize, you need to build that into your equation. Sometimes, if they find awesome space, you got to move quick. So who knows, it could be sooner, but usually about 6 to 12 months if it's a brick and mortar type of franchise.
One more question, then we'll pivot. What's a recommendation? So for someone who is looking at this and obviously wanting to team up and kind of go through this process and find the right fit for them in terms of a franchise, what's just a general recommendation or a tip?
Go into this keeping an open mind, because what you think could be the best fit versus reality are often two totally different things. One of the things that I really get tickled over is when I'm working with clients, oftentimes they come in with preconceived notions and ideas of the ideal business. But until we go through the assessment results and I begin to educate them about different franchise models and strategies, they begin to realize, boy, I was really off base. There are franchises out there that are ultimately going to fulfill those goals that I'm looking for. So just go into it, keeping an open mind, and do your due diligence.
So let's switch over and talk about meeting Manny Ohonme of Samaritan's Feet. And this will lead us over to Dillon and the passion for shoes, and then all the fundraising opportunities tied to Samaritan's Feet. But give a little bit of the context in terms of Manny Ohonme and Samaritan's Feet and the connection. Let's start there.
Okay, well, for me, I have been attending the cityCURRENT events for quite a while. Always great events. Manny spoke, I don't know, what was that, maybe 2-3 years ago in Nashville?
A little while. It's probably been about 2 or 3 years. Yes.
Okay. Well,
actually, it's been 3 years. You're right. It's been about 3 years because the pandemic is throwing us off on timing.
Amazing how time flies. But Dillon had really just started buying and selling shoes online not too far before that presentation. And, I listened to Manny's speech. It was, really inspiring. And boy, I'll tell you, what really hit home for me is, and let's face it, Dillon has a strong interest in shoes, and we're talking limited edition sneakers and whatnot, high quality shoes, and it's fun and it's great. It's exciting when the customer gets their pair of shoes. But then I watched the video that Manny showed, and this young girl who craves so much to be able to go to school, and the school won't allow her because she doesn't have shoes. So what does she do? She takes 2 empty water bottles and straps it around her feet, and they still deny her. And for me, Jeremy, it was like, God, we've got to really put things in perspective. And that's when I introduced Samaritan's Feet to Dillon. We followed on the newsletters and whatnot, and that's kind of how our connection started.
So Dillon, let's hear from you, buddy. So 17 years old on your end and going into your senior year, which is awesome. Give us a little bit of just your passion for shoes, what got you in terms of the business, and then we'll switch over and talk about tying to Samaritan's Feet.
Yeah, so I think one of my friends kind of brought up the idea of buying these limited shoes, and I kind of expanded on that and started a little business where I do that. And when my dad introduced the Samaritan's Feet organization to me, I just made some monetary donations and supported it. But recently I wanted to make a bigger impact and get more people involved. So I decided to start a shoe fundraiser and shoe drive.
Talk about what you saw in terms of the ability for people to obviously support it. But I think to your point, it's one thing to do it personally and then to put it out there and say, hey, come join me in this effort. All of a sudden now it's a public push. And so talk about kind of what you were able to see in terms of people coming to your support and donating, and talk about the experience of it.
Yeah, I was really surprised by how many people helped support this organization and my shoe drive. And yeah, I mean, I got some friends to donate, some family, relatives. Yeah, it was just really.
And lots of shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. About to say it was both cash and shoes.
Yes.
What's something that you learned in the process? So when you look at going through and just obviously putting all the pieces together, reaching out, asking for support, what did you learn going through this process?
I think I learned that, I mean, even just one shoe can make a huge impact through donating. Like, it can impact one person's life so much. And through the fundraiser, I think I learned just how to get the message out there more when I was actually starting it. And yeah.
And I think that's something, especially for a teenager, to be able to realize that, wait a second, take age out of the equation. You can make a difference at any age. And being able to tie in something that is a passion for you, shoes, and say, okay, I can use what I'm passionate about and leverage that to reach others, to inspire others, and be able to make a difference through an organization, Samaritan's Feet. And the other thing that you're doing that you don't even realize is, yes, you're raising money, but you're also raising awareness. And so now all of these individuals, family members, friends, others that donated to this cause, now they have a connection to Samaritan's Feet, and now they have a relationship that's starting with Manny and Tracy in the organization. And so they then become ambassadors to this greater cause too. And so I think that's part of just learning. When you talk about learning to be a philanthropist, learning philanthropy, learning how to make a difference, the earlier the better, but realizing that you can make a huge difference at an early age simply by realizing that you have power of influence. And I just think it's a really good example, one, of what you're doing to help others, but it's also a good example of how others can take this same approach and say, I want to make a difference. Here's exactly how you can do it. Look at what you're passionate about and get out there and make it happen. For you as the father, what smile does this bring to your face to see Dillon take a passion at an early age and be able to use it for a higher purpose?
Yeah, well, needless to say, I'm really proud of him. And, when he started his little online business, he did this all on his own. He did the research. It's really been amazing to watch him grow with that, and to know that he's also doing good. Again, it's fine when you can make dollars and cents, but at the end of the day, again, we got to put things in perspective. And we've tried to instill in him, you always got to think about people that may not be so lucky as us, and being a part of the community and giving back is real important. And he's embraced that. And so, needless to say, I'm certainly the proud dad, and he's doing good things. And we've just been overwhelmed with the response, with how many shoes have been donated. The monetary thing is great too, but again, we know that this is going to be doing a lot of good.
Yeah.
So we feel great about that.
I'm curious for you, Dillon, more of just a logistics business question, but when you talk about these, special edition shoes, with shoes, it's matching sizes. So it's like, how do you get the shoe ahead of time and then do you market it? Or do you try to find the person that wants the shoe and then you go out and get the shoe? What's the method to the science behind what you do on the business side?
So I don't ever really sell directly to people. I sell more on these anonymous secondary markets. And so I don't really have to focus on getting a specific size for one person. I can just get any size, and hopefully there'll be demand for that size and shoe.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's always, when you talk about like kind of custom things, there's always a unique challenge behind that. So, okay, I got you. Nice. So wrap up for both of you, on your end, Dillon, talk about just where people can go to get involved, either, on the business side, just learning more what you're doing on the Shoe Passion side, or, Samaritan's Feet, where can they make the donation? And then Dan, on your end, obviously talk about FranNet, but Dillon, start with you.
Yeah, so on my Instagram at Dillon Aronoff, DILLONARONOFF, I have a post on there that has more information on Samaritan's Feet and also the link to donate if people want to give monetary donations, or if anybody local wants to drop off any shoes. Yeah.
Awesome. And then Dan, talk about FranNet and where people can reach out and get in touch with you.
Sure. Probably the best place is just to go to the website. It's frannet.com, FRANNET.com. And, you plug in your zip code, Memphis, Nashville, Knoxville, whatever it may be. My microsite, my consultant page will come up, and it has my contact information on there as well.
Well, Dan, Dillon, greatly appreciate all you both are doing, and greatly appreciate you coming on the show. So thank you very much.
Thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.